Mourning period. In many cultures, there were stipulations as to what people who were closely related to the death should and should not do for a certain period of time after the death. This was mainly to create a karmic distance between the living and the departed, so that both could continue their respective journeys without much encumbrance. In a previous section, we saw how we create Runanubandha with everybody and everything we interact with in our lives. But Runanubandha is not at the same level for all relationships. So, depending upon the strength of the Runanubandha, to that extent, the death of a person affects another individual. For example, sometimes without knowing why, someone wakes up in the morning feeling a pit in the stomach. This could be due to various reasons, but it is also possible that someone who has a strong Runanubandha with you is in some distress or has died or whatever. You may not know this person, you may have never met him or her, but just like that, your system is reacting to what is happening to that person. It is very much possible. The problem of speaking about these things is people will start imagining all kinds of things. Tomorrow, if someone is not feeling well, instead of seeing a doctor or examining what they did not do right the previous day, they will start imagining that someone they love must have died somewhere, and all kinds of confusion will start. In India, there is a peculiar tradition of mourning that depends on being genealogically related to the dead person in a particular way. Such people are supposed to avoid going to temples or participating in social events or celebrations for 40 days. This is because in ancient India they followed the system of Kula, which is like a clan but with a much more genetic basis to it. Kulas were created mainly to maintain a clear genetic pathway through generations. Through this connection, they created Runanubandha on the physical and genetic level as well. Kulas were maintained and sustained primarily by creating Kula Devatas or the deity for the Kula. Each Kula had a deity with specific rituals related to that deity. In ancient times, not everyone went to every temple. There were some temples that were for general well being, which everyone visited, but for specific purposes, people went only to their Kula Devata. Not only that, if a certain kind of genetic pathway is maintained, you can create certain energy which travels through the track, impacting the entire clan. Even now, this is happening to some extent, where medical science is coming up with medication that is specific to certain kinds of DNA makeup. In the future, probably by just spraying a medicine in the air, all the people who have that type of DNA will benefit instantly. Similarly, it is possible to do spiritually beneficial things to the entire clan across generations by just doing it in one place. For example, when Kulas were maintained, everyone in the Kula did not need to go to the temple. If one person went and prayed or one big ritual was done, everyone could benefit, whether they were physically present in that space or not, because all of them were connected and the energy moved through that connection. For thousands of years, people maintained the genetic track in their own way, never mixing it up, never doing anything that would disturb the track, so that the progeny was well maintained. They had whole systems of how to marry, intermarry, and not marry among their own clan. All these things created a very strong Runanubandha, which ensured the survival and well being of that clan. Today, Kula is understood as caste and we just react to some atrocities that have been committed in that name. We think everything must be dismantled. In any case, it is all broken and gone now. Today, the genetic material of people is all mixed up. Society has changed. Today, your son may fall in love with the girl next door, and she could be from any caste, religion, or race. So it will not work the same way. Today, your choices have become more important than maintaining those kinds of things. So those things have become irrelevant. You cannot revive that, but there was a deep science with immense benefits in it. It worked phenomenally for some societies that kept it. When things were maintained like that, not visiting temples at a certain time was a very relevant thing. It was a wonderful understanding of life, a fabulous understanding of genetics and how it functions. When the Kula system was still relevant, if there was a death in the Kula, all the members of the Kula who were related to the dead person in a certain way were asked not to go to the temple for 40 days after the death. This makes sense only for the Kula Devata temple. This is because they wanted to avoid the possibility that the deity would confuse the person with the dead person because of the close resemblance of the genetic material with that person. The deity may recognize you and the dead person's energy is the same, and it could disturb your system. It could cause destabilization of your body. In extreme cases, it could even cause death. So when that energy is hanging around you, you don't go to your Kula Devata, but you can go to a Shiva temple or a Kala Bhairava temple.